Still talking health, a senior research associate of the Cambridge University, Dr. Sarah Pensa, says early diagnosis will go a long way to prevent cervical cancer and other illnesses. She was speaking at the opening of a free community cervical cancer outreach sponsored by Cambridge University held in Osogbo. And senior reporter Rafiu Hamid has more on this.
Cervical cancer, according to statistics, is the fourth most common cancer in women globally, with over 12,000 new cases and 8,000 deaths annually. In Nigeria, it is the third most common cancer case among women between the age of 15 and 44. This workshop is another step towards encouraging more cervical cancer researchers to do more. Dr. Sarah Pensa harped on the need for women to always make themselves available for early screening.
Early diagnosis, so the screening that we are planning to do with this program, is going to allow us to detect the causative agent of cervical cancer, which is papillomavirus. And once that is detected, then we can act in a way that prevents the onset of the cervical cancer. So I would say to women that it's extremely important to participate to this type of early screening when it's available to them.
Cervical cancer should not kill any woman because it takes on the average of 15 years before you develop from infection to the cancer itself. So early diagnosis, like I've said earlier, is the key. So I am encouraging our women to screen and screen.
After this workshop, over 600 women in the state are to undergo free cervical cancer screening courtesy of the grant won by Fountain University.
First leg of the grant was given to the university last year, and it was in form of equipment that were donated to the university. And the equipment came around, I think, sometimes in June, and the equipment at that time worth over 150 million naira. And this is the second leg, which is the early diagnosis and outreach on the cervical cancer.
As often as you can, with any time around 2 to 5 years, will really help detect it at the right time. But this is particularly important as you grow old, because papillomavirus can stay in your body for a long time, and the longer it stays in your body, then the highest the chance to develop cervical cancers.
The cervical cancer screening is expected to take place in 4 different locations in Osun State. Rafiu Hamid, TVC News, Osogbo.
In other news, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency has continued its war against drug trafficking across the nation. Officers across different commands have arrested those guilty of trying to traffic illegal substances. And we have more in this report.
Consignments of cocaine and pharmaceutical opioids concealed in ladies' sanitary pads and hair treatment cream containers heading to the United Kingdom, Ireland and Cyprus have been intercepted by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency at 3 courier firms in Lagos State. In one of the logistic companies, not less than 30 parcels of cocaine were concealed in hair cream containers. 200 ampoules of promethazine and pentazocine injections hidden in food items and herbs heading to London were also seized by NDLEA operatives on the 4th of September. At the Port Harcourt International Airport, no fewer than 550,000 pills of tramadol were intercepted on the 2nd of September during a joint examination of a cargo that came from India. In the West, NDLEA operatives supported by men of the Nigerian Army on the 3rd and 4th of September stormed 3 camps inside the Ise-Ekiti Forest Reserve, where over 100,000 kilograms of cannabis spread across 51 hectares of farmland were destroyed. Still in the West, a raid of the home of a drug kingpin in Ilesha, Osun State, led to the seizure of 43 grams of cocaine, 23 grams of methamphetamine, more than 17 kilograms of cannabis, and a locally made pistol. In the north, 2 suspects were arrested with kilograms of cannabis and another 2 with 1,300 tablets of tramadol in Kaduna State. In Kogi and Taraba states, no fewer than 150,000 pills of tramadol were recovered. And in Jigawa State, a suspect was nabbed with 32.6 kilograms of cannabis. A statement by the NDLEA's Director of Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi, says the Chairman, Chief Executive Officer of the NDLEA, Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa, retired, highly appreciates the operational efforts of the officers of the Drug Law Enforcement Agency across the country.
You're still on to TVC News. We have more stories just ahead. Stay with us. Well, if you just joined us, you're watching TVC News. And let's take you to other matters where the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, says his office will ensure that airports across the country are conducive for both inbound and outbound passengers. The minister said this while inspecting some facilities at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, alongside the Managing Director, Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, and top directors at the agency. He urged Nigerians to make use of the Anti-Touting Initiative now available at the airport to reduce harassment, extortion, or bribery of any form by any official at the airport or security agency. The aviation authorities further reiterate their resolve to encourage public-private partnership to upscale facilities at the airports.
Very concerned. Nigerians have been very concerned about the issue of harassment at the airports, touting at the airports, extortion by even uniformed personnel. Now, our first step in addressing this issue is what you have seen here. So for Nigerians, please look at this. When you come into the E-wing of the International Airport in Lagos, you are going to see a sign discouraging touting, extortion, and general harassment of passengers coming into Nigeria. Now there's a QR code. You must make use of it. Don't come and go to the media and complain that there was nobody to speak to when you are harassed by law enforcement agencies. Use the QR code, use the hotlines, and make a call there and then.
FAN is ready for business, and this government is ready for business. I continue to say that the investments we need to improve the facilities and the infrastructure in the aviation sector can not only come in from the federal government. The Honorable Minister, you have seen over the last few weeks where he has been engaging both the private sector as well as other government institutions globally to make sure that we can better collaborate, especially around new terminal development, where it comes to increasing our routes. So there's some work around route development, even as far as going on, some trips to specifically speak to how the airlines can seek additional leasing opportunities and aircraft.
Now to a bit of politics.